Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. D Oracle, your favorite psychic and metaphysician. So today I'm going to be talking about the cycles of consciousness, and I'm going to be talking about how that relates to the hidden personalities or principles of the mind being allowed to show themselves right now. Um, they are heightened, and they definitely make up like our shadow or demonic psychic energies. So welcome back to my channel if you are already a subscriber, and I want to thank you so much for stopping by once again to get this knowledge, to get this information and this insight, okay? We generally have information overload, so I try to make my videos very short, but I explain a pretty broad topic, okay? So tonight I'm going to be talking about your demonic function, like the demonic mental function of your mind. Yes, you have a demonic cognitive function, okay? That deals with our mental and our physical needs, and it also deals with our emotional imbalances, mood disorders, okay? So I have a couple of videos about Set and Osiris, and those are two aspects of our personality that work within us, so that we can face some of the darker aspects of ourselves, okay? So Set is like a darker aspect of who we are. But when we go through our childhood traumas and different toxic experiences, the demon function that we have, that cognitive function in us, tends to reject morality. By the way, if you haven't already done so, make sure you take the time to click on that like and subscribe button if you're not a subscriber, okay? Also, click on the little bell so you can be notified whenever I upload new videos. Now, these are just my notes over here. The demonic function of your psyche or your mind, it has to do with disassociating yourself, okay? Either you're disassociating so that you don't have to experience the full effects of what a traumatic event is doing to your mind at that particular time. So you kind of store it, so you can face it for later. Disassociating also has to do with deceiving yourself or lying to yourself about what it is that is actually making you go against your own morals and values, okay? If we look at the cycle of consciousness, then we also understand, if you notice, a cycle always goes around. So it always goes to a point where it's going to return again to each of those other points. So when we're talking about the cycle of consciousness, we are talking about the winter of consciousness or the dark days of consciousness, okay? Where once again, like I stated before, shadows or the shadow function of the mind is allowed to have recognition, okay? So you're no longer going to be disassociating from that. You either need to face it in a way that you can integrate what you need to know into your consciousness so that you don't go against your own morals and values. Or you're going to have to figure out a way to cope with it, okay? When you're in the darker parts of the cycle of consciousness and these emotional imbalances, mood disorders, and lack of mental or physical needs come to manifest themselves in your life, um, you generally have either a deficiency or you have a place where something's been overcompensated for. So that creates an imbalance, okay, in the way that you filter information and the way that you're expressing information. So if you're always filtering information through an incorrect lens, which means you go seeking after something because of an inner child wound, and then what you receive is because of an inner child wound, but you disassociate it from your inner child. It's kind of like there's a veil, okay? There's a veil over. You know how you need a pair of glasses to see clearly? That's what happens with your shadow function, okay? It definitely arises from the subconscious. It was instilled in you a very long time ago by the way that, you know, everything was functioning in your environment or the way that your caregivers function, okay? And so with that being said, it's like as a child, you really didn't know how to identify all of the feelings that you had, or if you identified the feelings, you didn't quite identify exactly why, because you didn't really know all the things that adults were into or what they were doing or how that thought process, how their thought process was working in your life. So some of what happened is that their stuff got projected on you, okay? And when I mean projected, it was like they did something, like maybe you grew up in a broken home and your parents weren't there, okay? So that wounded you, okay? That made you feel rejected. That made you feel rejected if your parent wasn't really present, barely called you, barely showed up, or maybe they told you they was coming a few times but didn't actually make it. So their issues got projected on you in that way because you didn't know why. They never explained it. And so in your own emotions, you know, you got hurt or you got stunned. Your heart chakra, you know, became imbalanced because of it. And so now the way that you look for love and look for other people to return love, it's a little skewed, okay? It's corrupted, basically. It's been corrupted, okay? Now, these things have always happened in human history. What makes it the winter of consciousness around now is because it's happening at epidemic proportions, which means it's more frequent, it's more common, and you're more likely to meet someone who has been affected by things like a broken home. And so they had those inner child issues that are expressing now as emotional disorders. They're also expressing as mood disorders. Okay, so they switch moods a lot, or they're kind of moody. Also, there's been a lack of having their mental and their physical needs met, either or their emotional needs. And so now they're stunted in a particular growth, and it's a wounded child that's crying out for attention and wants to be integrated into the psyche. Also, what makes it epidemic and a problem is that we're very loose with the systems that give us morals. So that's like religion. I know a lot of people are working with spirituality, which that's more personal to you. Okay. But they're very far, you know, from their spiritual connection. Okay. People are very far from their spiritual connection. Even doing shadow work because of all the things that happened to you in the past has taken a long time. Um, so yeah, this is creating a big imbalance, okay, versus balance, and darkness is allowed to be seen and to prevail, which means a lot of times darkness wins and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. Even if you call the police, they can't make up for something that happened to you. They don't have the resources, or it's just not important enough to them, okay? Our Indian cousins, okay, they call these the Yugas, okay? And this would be considered the Kali Yuga of this time, okay? Because it's dealing with all these dark psychic forces and spiritual bankruptcy. Hmm. One of the things that you'll see that's real common with this time, it culminates into like a degradation of society, okay? These are because a lot of the thought frequencies now, they lack some sort of direction, okay? Before we had different ways of culture and different practices that our ancestors used to help us develop our psyche. One of them was that they would tell us stories, like stories that are in the Bible and stuff, really great stories like that. So that helped us kind of see how we needed to balance our intuition with our intellect. But now that we have money, and the effects of exposure to luxury, okay? Because exposure to luxury, it like builds on or creates self-interest. Only what I want and what I need, okay? And so that's like a psychological consequence or curse that people would be more involved in making themselves happy, even if the way that they're doing it isn't moral, okay? And most of the time it's not. So lack of cultivation, it's like everybody's growing like wild instead of in a nice, cultivated garden. It's like everybody's trying to get their space and move everybody else out the way. So lack of cultivation, that leads to so many different thought frequencies. Everybody's on a different level on how they think and how they filter information and how they express it, okay? It makes you act like you don't care sometimes, or you don't care to just deal with certain attitudes, certain moods, okay? Certain people who are acting entitled, okay? Like you owe them something, or it's all about them, okay? So narcissism is like another type of manifestation of that, or different dark triad personalities are what you have to watch out for right now, okay? It's either on one end or the other, because if you're not a narcissist, then you're usually a codependent, and that's why you're running into people like that. You're allowing your shadow self or your wounded inner child to make you feel like you're not worthy. So you feel like, okay, if I do this and, kind of show this person I'm in their corner and stuff, then they'll see. But what ends up happening is that they never see, because they're operating from their subconscious or their dark shadow inner child wounds, where they're trying, of course, to get something from you, but they're doing it in a very immature way. If you notice, interacting with our shadows and our dark side comes out as like immature behavior, and be like, wait a minute, this is childish as hell. Why am I acting like this? Or you see somebody else, you like, damn, they acting childish as hell. Why are they acting like that? Well, it's because you both are acting this way, and you can't say that you don't act that way if you're attracted to someone who is. There's something in you also that's acting immature, and that really attracts you guys together and kind of magnetizes you. And then after a while, you start thinking, why am I involved with this person? Part of you wants to explore that challenge and to really remove that blockage out the way. And so that's one of the reasons why you're having that experience. And another reason why you're having that experience is because you do need to heal. Okay, you need to figure out how to operate in integrating that into your consciousness. Like, I already know that I do this, so let me see what I can do so I don't have to worry about really doing that again. Okay. In the Kali Yuga period, and I'm about to cap it off here, but it's kind of sort of like consciousness gets frozen, okay? And so you gotta kind of fight your way through that. Awareness is really big. This is about just ascending to higher heights by using your spiritual battle within yourself, you know. When we have Kali Yuga, it's very important that we do meditation and we connect ourselves to some sort of moral grounding. And we also have to use our boundaries to protect that moral grounding, okay? We also have to practice paying attention to what our true values are so we can be our authentic self. If we don't know what we value, and we don't understand where we're wounded at and where we need to protect ourselves at, our values are going to be all over the place. And so people can easily come in, and because we're operating from our shadow self, we're not aware of it, then we won't allow ourselves to be preserved, okay? And we'll blame other people and feel like we're always being victimized. Also, we'll be living like in our fake self. It's not really going to get us to our highest and greatest good, because what it is that we desire and we want, we are suppressing that. Okay? Also, we're very emotionally immature because we can't really identify what these wounds are that we have and why we need to heal these wounds so that we can build healthy relationships with people, okay? This causes us to be in a battle with the darkness, and it splits us up, not only on the inside but outside too, because if we have that fear of abandonment, that will overpower us in a totally healthy relationship where we won't be able to build a good exchange of energy, okay? If we have fear of rejection, we'll keep running into people who are rejecting us because we haven't dealt with that inner childhood wound. I give very much thanks to my twin flame for helping me realize what my childhood wounds were and how to heal from them. And even though, we ended up going our separate ways, it was still an experience that Spirit used to show me what it is that I need to overcome for my spiritual evolution. That's what really a twin flame is for. So I want you guys to truly know that. And it will send you on a journey to where you will effectively find out what your issues are. I don't care if you've gone to therapy or, you've done some inner work before. If you didn't tackle those issues, you probably ended up with a false sense of confidence that ended up making you repeat some of those same mistakes in new relationships. So I'm going to end it here, but I want you to be aware that we haven't been forgotten. This is a cycle of consciousness that is predicted, or our ancestors already told us about. That's why you had things like the Mayan calendar or the Egyptian calendar, or we had things like the zodiac. Okay, those are cycles that we have to go through. Okay, and you know the cross: east, west, north, south, summer, winter, spring, fall. Though the same thing reigns in consciousness. So now we have to see our darker sides, our people darker energies, psychic energies are rising up. They want to be seen, they want to be heard, they want to be challenged, so that we can work through these these pathologies that we have, these psychological problems, these personality disorders. That's basically what it's manifesting as. And the things that we're doing to be self-serving, okay? And I said that about the luxury thing. Some people's luxury is feeling grandiose, thinking everybody want them, okay? Don't nobody really want their ass like that, but that's what they're thinking, okay? Some people are living in a reality where they're constantly feeling like they need to help somebody, or they need to do something to save somebody. And this is going to reward them with the love of their life. It ain't going to reward you with shit. The only thing you're going to do is cause yourself to be used and abused. So we have to understand this, okay? In the cycles of consciousness, that we haven't been left by universal mind to, be a victim. But we may need that victim experience so that we can stand up stronger for ourselves, and we can understand how we need to have boundaries, how we need to heal, and not live in a false sense of confidence or a false reality where we're constantly offering ourselves up as prey to be used, or we're preying on other people and using them. So, if you have any toxic experience, make sure you do your shadow work. And once again, thank you for watching. Don't forget to click that like button for me. And I'll see you on the next one.